Good morning, everybody. Enter the stars. Welcome back to the channel. Well, it's time to get caught up on some headlines. Now, I want to give a special thank you to the folks at Extreme Muffler who welded my muffler for $43, if you can believe that. This is why I love Arkansas. I haven't had a $40 car repair bill since high school. I mean, it was amazing. I had this hole in my muffler and they just welded it right up. It took like 15 minutes and I was on my way. So thanks guys for helping me out. Now, the reason why you're seeing this show pre-recorded is because when I got home, there was gasoline leaking out of my gas tank. So I've got to get that fixed. It's the season of car problems, right? I think all this stuff happens when maybe the cold weather. I don't know. Another reason to put your car in a garage, right? Anyway, let's check it out and see what's going on in the world. And the first thing that comes up on my list is that we are told that the Orion module has already made an orbit around the moon. This is what we're told. We're told that there are these pictures that they've taken of Earth from the moon. And of course, some of these pictures are in black and white. You would think that these people would have 4K cameras and beyond, right? I mean, although, after all, this is a multi-trillion-dollar venture, and here we get black and white photographs in 2022. Now, apparently this mission, Artemis 1, is an unmanned mission in preparation for a manned mission that they plan on doing in a few years, just in time for Trump's presidency to come back. Him being the author of Artemis, the Artemis moon program, so he can be like the next JFK, I think is what he's aiming for with that. And once again, we get no pictures of stars, no stars here. You would think that somebody would want to do a different kind of exposure on the film and show us some stars. Now, I understand that this is all about light exposure, and because the surface of the Earth is so bright, it blinds out the stars. This is what we're told. But why not take a picture of the dark side of Earth, right? I mean, this is what I would think. That's what I would be doing if I was spending all this money on these missions. I would make sure I had the best photography ever. So, weird times we're living in, you guys. Now, what are they saying about all this? Well, let's read what they're saying here, because over here you can go to this space.com and apparently track the path of Orion as it moves toward and around the moon. It's supposed to do another orbit right after Thanksgiving. So, I don't know. Now, it'll be interesting in the coming years as they try to convince everyone that they're around the moon and they've landed on the moon at some point. So we're going to see how all that shakes out. But interesting times nonetheless. Now, I wanted to get into a follow-up show that we did on the Ghostbusters cartoon. Remember that? The real Ghostbusters. And remember in that particular episode that we watched, there was a mention of Trump. And then we saw Peter, with one of the characters, look in the mirror, and then we saw the slime ghost dress up as Peter as if he was looking in the mirror. So we had these clear Gemini references. And the entire episode of that cartoon was all about justifying why we celebrate Halloween, saying that if we don't celebrate Halloween, that the pit will open and demons will come out and overrun the world. Well, the main demon that jumped out of the pit, his name was Boogaloo, remember? So one of you mentioned, hey, you need to look up Boogaloo because there's actually a modern movement called the Boogaloo movement. And I was shocked because what this does is it brings that cartoon from the 1980s full circle into this moment in time. In other words, it's happening now. And what do I mean by this? Well, Boogaloo movement is a far-right anti-government extremist movement, kind of like the Proud Boys, I guess you could say, a militia-type movement. And, of course, these are the kinds of groups that tend to give their allegiance to people like Trump, right? Now, what is all this about? Well, it's all about a honey trap. And so people like this need to watch out because they're being led into a trap. Okay? They're being led into a trap. They're allowed to organize as they do so that later they can be taken down. And I wouldn't even count it out that this may be something that comes from the top down. In other words, they make these groups up and they wait and see who joins the group, and then they bust them. And this is how the CIA works. Many of these groups are not organic. They're actually government groups that the government says that they're against, but really they're the ones that made them up. So, the Boogaloo movement. What else do we have going on in the headlines today? Well, we've been talking a lot about cats, haven't we? Cats. And we've been seeing this in these Matrix revelations. More specifically, cats associated with disease. So I decided to do a new search, to see if I could find any stories about cats and disease. And sure enough, just a few days ago, this released from Florida. Florida of all places. A rabies alert issued in Suwannee County after a cat catches rabies. So, this is now on the radar. We're going to keep a close eye on this just to make sure that, nothing develops out of this, and I hope nothing does develop out of this. But the matrix clues seem to point towards cats and disease. Let's get into some of our other stories for today. Now, as many of you probably have already heard, Trump is back on Twitter. Now, we knew this was going to happen. I told you guys the minute he got kicked off. Well, not the minute he got kicked off, but right around the time that Elon Musk bought Twitter, I said this has to be some kind of Psyop. Musk is probably working with Trump. He's going to bring Trump back now that he bought Twitter, and it's going to save Twitter. And then Trump will be the hero once again, and he'll probably say, I saved Twitter. Well, his account has been restored. And people ask, well, what is this about? Well, Trump's as popular as ever. And every time it looks like Trump's down and out and it's the end of him, I get all kinds of grief in the comment section. Stop picking on him. Stop picking on him. The left hates him. You must be a lefty. Well, it's all a psyop. It's all smoke and mirrors, because here he is back on top again. Remember the stories of, DeSantis is going to take over the party. Poor Trump. Poor Trump. Trump's going to lose all his business. Trump's going to go bankrupt. No, he's not. The opposition to Trump is fabricated to strengthen his legitimacy. That's the whole purpose of it, and it works. It works. Number one reason why people think he's legitimate is because they think that the left hates him. So, I anticipate that he will run, he will win by a landslide. He will be seen as the hero for the right, who saved America from the crazy Democrats who are playing their part to act as though they're crazy while also demoralizing the nation. He's back up to 87,000 or 87 million Twitter followers. Here he is right here. 87 million Twitter followers. So, this is why we keep covering Trump, because it's never over for him. I believe he will be the next president, and he's deceived already 87 million Christians. Now, Trump is a man of contradictions. Interestingly, and I didn't know this until I looked this up, Trump's wife, Melania, which typically presidents and first ladies are on the same page, politically, especially something as huge as money. Melania's into cryptocurrency. Now, I noticed this when I was looking through her account on Twitter, because she was basically out there pushing crypto. And a lot of people were buying crypto because of Melania Trump. And here it says Melania reportedly bought her own NFT for $185,000. Shows she's into crypto. But interestingly, Trump is not into crypto. So, which is it? Are they into blockchain or are they not into blockchain? That is the question, right? Here are Trump's comments on crypto. He says Bitcoin is a scam affecting the value of the US dollar. So, it remains to be seen. Man of many contradictions. Now, what else do we have here? Well, here's an update on the stain. What's going on with the stain? More revelations coming on Jeffrey Epstein's powerful pals and soon unsealed documents. Still don't have any new arrests. Nobody else went to jail from his black book. But apparently, they're saying that there is going to be some unclassified documents. Let's take a look and see what they have to say here. Now, of course, I don't believe half of this, but it's good to hear what they're saying to see how things are going to move forward. On Friday, the Manhattan federal judge ruled that she'll unseal another cache of records in a defamation suit that Jeffrey, a victim of his ring, filed against the financier's accomplice Maxwell. Since 2019, a U.S. District Judge Loretta Preska has released long secret documents in the litigation on a rolling basis, giving the public a glimpse of Jeffrey's accusations about Epstein's trafficking scheme and the man she claims participated in it. Now remember, this is on the heels of Jeffrey now rolling back her accusations against Dershowitz, now saying that she's not so sure, letting him off the hook. So I don't expect really to see anything in these documents when they come out. Let's keep reading here. The latest records to be revealed, according to the Daily Mail, will include materials related to 8 people, including Thomas Pritzker, billionaire executive chairman of Hyatt Hotels, who was listed in Epstein's Black Book of Contacts, former personal assistant to Maxwell named Emmy Taylor, and Sarah Ransom, survivor of his abuse. Preska, however, didn't set a date for the release of the documents, while Pritzker had argued disclosure of the records could damage his reputation. Preska overruled his objections. So, they got one guy here that might be on the hook, this Pritzker guy, and we'll see how all this shakes out. So, short show today. I just wanted to get you guys caught up on some loose ends that we hadn't tied up yet, and let you know what's going on in the world. And we will be back on here tomorrow with episodes from Manifest. Likely. I'll try to see how far I get, and we'll see if we're going to have a show tomorrow. Much love to you guys. Take care and be safe, everybody.